tanks clanking down the street in a U.S. city? These aren't Mussolini newsreels, not a Pyongyang parade. No siree, this is 2025 America. Absurd? Sure, until it isn't. You're watching video from Trump's birthday parade just about 12 weeks ago, and the headlines this week, they're normalizing stuff like this more each day. In this week's Friday Night Tyranny Fight breakdown, Trump wants to turn protests into war zones. He takes a swing at the Fed like it's his personal piggy bank. In ICE news, concentration camps launched their grim comeback tour, while whistleblowers get HR'd, FEMA staff getting canned for speaking out about public safety. Stick around and we'll break it down. If this is the kind of news you can use, click all that stuff down there, and I'll make sure to keep making these for you. Trump's been playing soldier with other people's kids again, rolling guard units and armored trucks into D.C., L.A., and next up, Chicago, which is weird for a party that won't shut up about states' rights, but I guess he figures the whole map is just his golf course. We've already seen how it goes. Protests that were chants and cardboard erupted with flashbangs and billy clubs as soon as his troops showed up. But sure, it's the protesters who are the violent ones. Yeah, right. He calls it law and order. Everyone else calls it, holy shit, why are there military convoys patrolling outside this restaurant? The black shirts of Mussolini, the brown shirts of 1930s Germany, and now Trump's got his red hats. But it turns out Trump's minions are far too soft to be of much use to him in that respect, so he calls in the military on American soil. I guess the Posse Comitatus Act doesn't mean anything to him. He doesn't even bother trying to hide his ridiculous cosplay. He wants that shot of tanks in the streets. He thinks it makes him look like the strongman he's been LARPing as since the escalator ride. What he doesn't get is that, just like Putin and Kim Jong-un do when they do it, he just looks like a scared little boy. And while he's busy playing Commander-in-Chief of Main Street, USA, he's lining up his next target, the Fed. Trump's trying to cancel Fed Governor Lisa Cook, thumbing his nose at the Supreme Court and babbling about unitary executive powers. But to Trump, that just means do what I say or you're fired. He thinks he's Andrew Jackson smashing the second bank, but it's a lot closer to Viktor Orban gutting Hungary's central bank on his way to dictatorial power. Same strongman script, but a lot more feckless. Everybody can see he's trying to strong-arm the Fed into cutting rates so he can short-sightedly rig the markets with a sugar high. He'll nudge down mortgage costs and waltz into November claiming he rescued the economy. The guy who went bankrupt running casinos is now trying to run the Fed like he ran his businesses into the ground. But this blatant abuse of power has nothing to do with economics, of course. Trump knows nothing about economics, as we've all learned so painfully over the past decade. What it is an election ploy. Just another example of the projection of these people. Every other claim is about how the Dems are trying to rig the election, while they're doing every underhanded thing they can think of to tilt the field in their direction. But when you're the most unpopular president in many decades, how many? Like 8 of them? Speaking of things that we thought we were done with 8 decades ago, it looks like we're doing concentration camps again. We've got ICE squads pounding on doors from Fresno to Philadelphia, with dragnet raids summoning cold shivers of history. Internment camps back in operation, barbed wire restrung where we swore never again. Judges keep ruling against him. 3 just this week, but back in March, his border czar was beating his chest and bellowing, "We're not stopping, I don't care what the judges think." And so far, they've made good on that. This administration is trying to spin it as enforcement, but history books tell us what it really is: pure, flaky, uncut state cruelty. I guess we've already forgotten about the Nisai. Over 100,000 Japanese Americans locked up in desert shacks, nearly 2,000 succumbing to infectious disease and worse. Or Eisenhower's Operation... Well, I'm not even going to say that, but it's a slur for Mexican people who immigrate to America through the Rio Grande. Anyway, he was expelling families by the trainload to unsafe conditions, causing many deaths as well. If it looks, smells, and operates like fascist cleansing, you don't need a decoder ring. History's full of examples, humans just being snatched off streets by cowards in masks. Show me your papers barked at checkpoints, while whole communities are swept out of sight. And the branding's not even new. The dehumanizing language, the framing of entire groups of people as somehow poisoning society. It's all just grossly obvious purification tactics. Speak up against any of it? Enjoy your ICE interview, your audit, or your pink slip. And don't think the government's gonna stop with disappearing your neighbors. It's already started disappearing its own truth-tellers. This week, whistleblowers are under fire like never before. From the NIH laboratories to agencies across the federal government, those speaking out against dangerous politicization and cover-ups are being investigated, pushed out, or silenced. 2 top NIH scientists just filed formal complaints claiming they were forced out for defending vaccine science against administration interference. It's a clear warning. Expertise and truth are liabilities under this regime. The Trump administration's been working hard to dismantle protections for government whistleblowers, firing officials charged with shielding them and intimidating those brave enough to speak up. Loyalty tests replace expertise. Stalin held show trials. Hitler issued so-called emergency decrees. Looks like our version comes with severance packages and HR emails, so I guess that's nice. But the objectives are identical: silence dissent and erase resistance. So that's the week in our slow march toward tyranny. Our own military deployed on our streets, the Fed being stripped of its independence, concentration camps reopening, whistleblowers being silenced. Oof. Sounds pretty bad when you say it all at once like that. And I guess it is. It's easy to lose hope. But surrender isn't an option, because if we don't push back, if we let the tanks roll by without a fight, if we let the truth-tellers get fired in silence, we become complicit in eroding everything that keeps us free. This week's headlines don't just mirror warnings from all that dystopian fiction, though they absolutely do. They are the reason those books were written. You know, none of those authors were psychic. As Octavia Butler said, all I did was look around at the problems we're neglecting now and give them about 30 years to grow into full-fledged disasters. Which honestly feels like a lot more time than we actually have before this, whatever this is, turns into a full-fledged nightmare. So don't just sit with all this. Share it. Talk about it. Stay loud. Tyranny thrives in the dark, but it shrivels under that sweet sunshine disinfectant. Until next time, stay vigilant and keep fighting.